Well, driving back to my old house in Stoneboro and just kind of reflecting on what the last 5-6 months have been. So much has happened, and in a lot of ways I really struggled through this process of change. Having a baby, buying a house, moving out of an old house, expanding my laboratory, hiring people, that metamorphosis of change doesn't come easily always. There's always growing pains, and really the growing pains for me have been like letting go of things that I'm not, right? Like, they may have been part of my identity at one point and they served a purpose until they didn't anymore. And if you want to grow, if I want to grow, I need to let go of that in order to become who I am becoming. And then another day will come where I'll grow, and maybe those things that I thought I was now aren't me anymore. Just little pieces and fragments. Ultimately, I'm none of that stuff. I mean, I'm the witness observing everything, and I mean, I guess I am whatever I choose to identify with, so I try to do that sparingly. But one of the things that really kind of was coming up for me was, being out of work for some time on a hiatus. We had a big moving sale back in November, and shut down my facility. I had to move my house, had to move my laboratory, had to move everything, my whole life. My partner Maria and I had a baby in January. Little Noah is doing so good. And during that time, I just wasn't really producing medicine the way I do. Having a lab set up where I just go in and start working. I had to build it. I started with just this raw basement, and I had to make sure everything was clean, and I had to update the wiring with my friend Tony, and I had to install all new plumbing, or have my friend Adam do it. There was just so much to do. Meanwhile, I'm helping my partner with postpartum, trying to still move from my old house, and there was just so much on my plate, and all I wanted to do really was rest, but I had to work, I had to do things. I was now dealing with 2 mortgages and an electric bill for a house that I'm not living at, just to keep the heat on so the pipes don't freeze. And so things were tight, but we always had everything that we needed. And there was never a time where we really had to sacrifice anything in our life. It was just being careful about spending. And one of the things that was the hardest, though, this is the whole point I wanted to get across, was feeling irrelevant, or feeling like I didn't know who I was anymore, or what my purpose was. And whenever I wasn't toiling in my lab, suddenly my value of myself got lower. And the funny thing is that it's like I had this internalized capitalist mindset of I have to grind all the time, and if I don't, then I'm losing, and other people are going to be taking some place that I was filling. But the reality is a couple things. Nothing in life grows all the time, except for what? Cancer. Nothing in life grows all the time except for cancer. Life has ebbs and flows. There's a season for everything. There's spring for rejuvenation, summer for life, fall for old age, and winter for death and sleep. And I was in the middle of a massive winter in so many ways, personally, and actually it was a fucking crazy winter. And I really, it's funny because I was worried so much about, like, I need to keep working and all this, and maybe some of that was warranted, but in hindsight, everything all worked out, and now we're in the clear, and I'm selling my house now. I just went to the closing agency, and next week I won't be the owner of that property anymore, which is really freaking relieving. I'm just so ready to just be fully on our property and on our land. And the other thing was being irrelevant, that my value is like placed in that. But the reality is, who gives a fuck if I'm relevant? I shouldn't give a fuck if I'm quote unquote relevant. The thing that I need to be relevant to is what my purpose is. And it doesn't matter what that means to somebody else. I think about Rick Rubin's book, The Creative Act, quite often. And the reality was that I just needed to do things for me, because that's really what this whole journey was about. Leading from the heart, working, making art, making friendships, making connections. All of it comes from my heart's calling. And I feel like I'm finally realizing that I've been doing it this whole time, and that there's really nothing to worry about, because like everything else in my life, whenever I work and live and act from my heart, all is provided for, because the universe is actually telling me that this is how we're supposed to live, from the heart, always.